Hello everyone and welcome to Broccoli Master YouTube channel. In this video we will make a project of transaction systems in which it have a different types of function available. Let me show a demo of transaction systems first. You can see here on the screen, this is our payment systems in which it will take the username, phone number, email and the amount that has paid by the customer and the transaction date, and it is about status, either the customer has clear the money or not. If the customer has cleared the money, then the staff will click on the approve buttons, and if not, then it will click on the rejected, and if the transaction is on the pending, then simply it will click on the pending button. After submitting this, all the payments of the transaction will become here, and here the ID will be generated randomly here by using the TXN ID on the beginning of the number. And in the similar way, if the staff approve the transaction, then they can easily generate the PDF of all their record, like in this way. All the PDF will be arrived like this. Okay. Similarly, if the transaction were rejected, then the staffs cannot generate the PDF. In a similar way, if the transaction is on the pending, then they cannot generate the PDF. They only can generate the PDFs if the transaction get approved by the staff or the admin. So this is the overview of our project that we are going to make on this video. So now, without wasting your time, let's begin it. So on the screen you can see that I have created a new folder named transaction systems, and here I will create two folders. One is for the backend, so I am writing here backend, and now again create another folder named as frontend. So right here frontend. So on the backend I will set up the Django project, and in the frontend I will set up the React project. Okay, so let me set up fast quickly here. Now I am opening this folder in our VS Code. So writing here cmd that write code space dot. After that, you can see here our VS Code will be opened, and in the VS Code we will open our terminal first. So here I already opened it. Now first we need to start our Django project. After that we will make our apps of transaction systems. So let me first start our Django project here. So write the command Django admin start project, and I'm naming this project as transaction. Okay, let me zoom my screen so that you can see it clear. And here on the left side you can see that our transaction folder is created here. So I am changing my directory here. Write cd transaction. Now on this transaction directory we will create one app. Let's define the app name as home. Okay, so right here python -py start app, name it as home. So here you can see that home app is created here successfully. Now we also need to integrate this app into our project. So for it we need to change in our settings, and here in the install app let's define it home. Now let's save it. After that we also need to define our URLs path of the app. So let's include app in our urls.setting. So right here include. After that get the path here, path right here include find home.urls. Let me save it fast. In the similar way, we also need a statics and template file to render our PDF that we are going to make on the HTML file. So let me define here statics file. So write all this code here. Okay, after that let me save it, and we also need to define this static path in our directory. So let me define it quickly on the above directory here. Let's explain this, and after that also include the template file. So right here templates. Now we already made all the necessary settings in our file. Now in the urls.py file, I want to include these URLs as ap1 and v1. Okay, now save it. Now I am closing this VS Code again, and here transactions I will again opening this VS Code. Okay, so code dot this is our VS Code, and here we will create two folder name. Let me zoom first. Okay, here we will create two folder name. One is for static, and sorry, I've made a mistake here, so correct it. Static, and make another folder name templates. Okay, so now on the home app, we also need to define the URLs. So let me write here urls.py, and we will modify these URLs as these URLs. Okay, so let me copy this all things and paste it here. We don't require these things, so for now let's remove this. So finally we have done with that. Let me open our terminal and start the server. Here we will write python -.py run server. So you can see here it is showing that you have 18 on applied migration. So first let me migrate it here. So write the command python -.py make migration. After that again migrate all the file. Okay, now we start our server. Python -.py run server. Now open the server here. Now you can see that our server is running successfully here. Okay, so now we also need to get the models in our apps. So let me define all the necessary model here. So let's get the model first here. So define class transaction and models dot model. After that we also need to define the attributes of the model. So right here transaction id equal to models dot char field, transaction id equal to models dot char field. Okay, and this id must be a unique. So right here unique equal to, in a similar way we also need to define the name. So right here name is equal to models dot char field, right here max length equal to 100. In a similar way we also need to define the phone number. So write phone number equal to models dot char field, right here max length equal to 20. In a similar way we also need to define the email. Write email equal to models dot email field, email field, and there is also a amount section. So define the models of amount, and we also need to define the transaction date. So right here transaction date equal to models dot date field. After that let me also define the status. So for defining the status, let's first include all the status here. So I am writing status devices equal to find tuple, and here write pending comma pending. Similar way also define approved okay. A similar way we also need to define the pending option or rejected options. Let's define reject comma rejected. Okay, so we have done with that. Now define the status of these all things here. Write models dot char field, take max length equal to 10, status choices default equal to pending. Now here we want to save the transaction ID by using the txn ID in front of the number. So we also need to define the function of that things. So let me define the function quickly here. Right, def save, pass the self argument, and we also need to pass the args argument, and there is also a keyword arguments. So let's define here works. Okay, and here define if not self dot transaction id, self dot transaction is equal to self dot self self dot transaction id equal to write the function x n id, save this string as a transaction dot objects dot count, and also need to define +1. So that is it. Fill and define for here. Okay, here let me include this, and here we don't need this, so let's me remove here. Okay, so we have defined the function here. Now we also need to save these all things. So right here super dot save arguments and sorry argument. In a similar way, we will passing the string function save as a rename of the this model. Here right def string define self and include return self dot transaction id. So let me save it, and here we also need to include the Django Rest frameworks in our setting.py file. So here in the settings, let include Rest framework here. So right here Rest framework. So let me save it. Now after creating the models, we also need to define in our admin.py file. So now let's register all these things from .models import all. Okay, after that find here admin dot register transaction class transaction admin models model admin, find the list display id to transaction id after that there is a name and there is a phone number. So right here phone, that include email, also show the date or transaction date, and also define status. So in a similar way, we also need to define the search field. Okay, so if the user want to search with a particular id or with a particular transaction date, then they can search easily there. Right here transaction fields equal to transaction id. They can also search with the name, with the specific phone number, and by using the email. Okay, let me save it. And now after that, we also need to make the migration of this all models. So let migrate first, python manage.py make migration. Sorry, I have made the spelling mistake here, so let me correct it. Python manage.py make migration. So you can see that the create model transactions have been migration on this here. Okay, so after that we also need to make the migrate. Right here python manage.py migrate. Let run the server python manage.py. First let create the super user. Okay, here define create super user. The super user I am defining admin, give the email address, the password I am also defining the admin, here writing it. Yes. Okay, python manage.py run server. After that let's check the server here, and let's enter the admin dashboard. So admin, let's access it. So you can see that our transaction model has been created successfully here. Okay, so when the user input the data from the front end, then all the data will be available here. So for now, we also need to define on our views.py file. Okay, so let's open the views.py file here. So on the view section, so we need to define 4 things here. One is the transaction ID, so that the people can see their overall transaction there. After that, if the user or the admin wants access the transaction by using their ID, then they can also do that. So we also need to define that functions. After that, we also need to define the PDFs so that they can show all the PDF list, and they can also access the PDF by using their transaction ID. Okay, so let me define here. So for it, I am using here class based function. So write the class transaction list get. Find here generics dot list get API view, and here define the variable query equal to transaction dot objects dot all. A similar way, we also need to define the serializer class. So let's define here serializer class is equal to transaction serializer. So we have not defined a serializer yet. So after that, we will also define the serializer. So don't worry about that things. So after defining these all things, so we also need to define the transaction ID so that it can take a ID in a random value number. So let's define here if generate transactions ID self. Right here random dot equal to dot rand int. Find here 1000. Okay, again define transaction xn id to take the random and return xn. So after generated this transaction id, we also need to define the create function. So right here def form get, right here self dot serializer xn id equal to self dot generate transaction id, and save this to our transaction. Okay, transaction id. And in a similar way, we also need to define the post. So post self request get the arguments, also can take the key value arguments, find code argument works. The right response for post find arguments and value argument. So we need to include in a double asterisk. Let's save it. And in the similar ways, right here transaction id equal to cons dot data dot find here transaction id. Right here return cons transaction id that is equal to status dot st. So one. So in a similar way, we also need to define a transaction detail. So write the class for transaction detail. So class transaction detail generics dot, here the user can retrieve, update and destroy the data. Okay, so let me define here generics dot retrieve, update, that destroy API view. Okay, the right query set is equal to transaction dot objects dot all. That also need to define the serializer equal to serializer class equal to transaction. Let define look of build equal to find the transaction id. Probably we also need to define the update so that user can update the data whatever they want. Okay, so right here update function self comma request, comma, args, and works. Find here partial equal to works dot pop, find partial, comma, false. Similarly, we also need to define the instance equal to self dot get dot object, and define the serializer equal to self dot get serializer data equal to request dot data, and partial equal to partial. Okay, step did all things self form date serializer. Okay, in the similar way, we also need to define the functions. If the admin is approved the transaction, then it will only create the PDF. If not, then it will not create any types of PDF there. Okay, let's define here if serializer dot validated data dot get, then kind of status equal to approved, then only it will be generated here. If cons equal to self dot generate for transaction, find here instance, and return the after that return if define return cons serializer dot data. Now save it. Now we also need to define the functions to create the PDF. So for it, let me define again the function here. We will write the def generate for transaction. Okay, here pass argument self transaction. Here define HTML equal to render to string, and define transaction detail templates dot html. Here write txn transaction. In similar way, we also need to define the result equal to bytes io, and write here pisa dot pisa document, and it will be take the standard of utf. Okay, right here utf8, also print the result. Okay, so I think I need to get here. Now also need to define if not pdf dot error, and response equal to http cons dot get value, here content 5 equal to location. In a similar way, we also need to define the content disposition. Okay, right here content disposition equal to attachment, let include a function here, and file name is equal to transaction, here transaction dot transaction id dot pdf. Okay, so that let turn the response on, so it is showing the comment here single inverted comma. Okay, now also need to define the else condition here. Else will return http response. We had some errors right here, html comma content type equal to text html. So here we also need to define the functions of destroy. So in the destroy function, what will we do? If the admin will delete the transaction id, then it will delete all the transaction record of that id. Okay, write a command here, df destroy self comma request, define the argument. We will also take the works. Okay, works your argument, and we define the function return super dot destroy request comma arguments comma works. Okay, now let's save it. Now after that, we also need to define the pdf transaction view. So let's get here class pdf transaction list view, find here generics dot generic api view, and define the function def get self comma request comma args comma works. Okay, transaction equal to transaction dot objects dot filters and status equal to approved. So if the user get approved, then only the PDF should be generated there. Okay, after that we will define the PDF function. So HTML equal to render to string, and it will be to the transaction list templates dot HTML comma define here transaction. I also need to define the response equal to self dot render to PDF HTML comma transaction this dot PDF on response render to PDF and define here self HTML string file name result equal to write ISO and define the PDF equal to PISA document and it will be at result. A similar way, we also need to define if not PDF error, then response should be result.get value and application PDF. Also contain a content disposition, file attachment, file name. Okay, and also return the response, return the HTTP response, and find here we had errors. Let me copy from the above. Let copy this all things here, paste it again here. Okay, so now let's save it, and we will also define one things more, that if the admin wants to access the transaction details with the help of their certain or unique ID, then they can show all the detail of that transaction ID. Okay, so let's define the function here also. So we will first get the class based function. You write class PDF transaction and define here detail. On it write generics dot generic API view and define def get self request argue and quarks. Right here try txn is equal to transaction dot objects, and after that if it is not approved, then it will show the message transaction is not approved, that is equal to 403. In similar way it will not get the PDF here. Okay, and if it is approved, then it will get the PDF with the given function. Okay, and otherwise it throw the error transaction not found. So we also need to define the function for getting the PDF here. So right here the functions, and this is the functions for getting the PDF that I already defined above. So I am just copy and paste from the above code. Okay, let me save it. And after defining the views function, we also need to define the serializer. Here get one folder again and write here serializers.py and from it first we need to import the serializer from our REST framework. So right here from REST framework import serializer. After that from dot models import all model. Okay, define a serializer class here, class transaction serializers dot model serializer class meta. We get a function from the model equal to transaction fields should be all, and I want to put the transaction ID as a read only. Okay, let's define here read only fields equal to transaction ID. Now let's save it. Make a mistake, spelling mistake here. Let's save it fast. And now it's time to define the URLs. So let's define the URL, urs.py file here, and here we need to define the 4 URLs pattern here. Let's define it quick. Write path, comma, transaction, find name equal to transaction list. Great. Okay. After that, we also need to take the transaction detail IDs. So right here, path, transaction ID. Find here transaction detail dot as view and name equal to transaction detail. So in a similar way, we also need to define the path of PDF. So right here, path slash transactions slash transaction detail view. Sorry, first define the list view. Okay, list view dot as view, define name equal to f transaction. We also defined path f transaction xnid transaction detail view dot as view, and here name equal to PDF. Okay, so now let's save it all things. I'll refresh our URLs showing the name error transaction list get not defined. On the views file, there is a transaction here on the urls.py file. Just paste this, save it again, running the Python y run server. So here on the line 5 again, it is showing that transaction list create as view name not defined. Okay, we also need to import the views that we have not imported here from dot import views. Let me save it, showing the invalid error in the views line 13. Line 13 self dot serializer. Right here, probably in the generic function of views line 4 number, import from rest work import generics status. A similar way, we also need to import the from rest framework import response, and in the similar way, we also need to import the from dot models import transaction from dot serializer import transaction serializer. Just similar way, we also need to import random from dot control is PDF library here. Let me import these all things. Now save it, and let me check where the error is now came from. On the serializer line number 1. Okay, so on the line number 1 there is a must be s. I have not defined it. Let's save it. Now again it is showing the error XML to PDF line number 10. So for resolving this issue, we need to install the XML to PDF. Okay, this is the library that helps you to create the PDF file. So let me queue this and install this library here. Takes a minute. Okay, so it gets successfully installed in our virtual environment. So let me clear it, and again running the command python manager.py write test. So we have seen that there is a showing one more errors in the urs.py file line number 6. So let me check it here. The line number 6 in the transaction list get as view name transaction list get is not defined. So let me define manually it here from dot views port all. Okay, now let's again run the command test. I'll check where the error is throwing. Okay, now the error is not going anywhere more. Now let's migrate file python manager.py make. Let's run the server. Run server. So actually it is showing the warning here, the transaction string transaction id has unmatched bracket. Okay, so I have missed bracket here again. Now it is not showing any more error. Now let's check it. Let's refresh this page, and here API view1 and want to add transactions. So let's add it here, transaction. So I think we have made the gap here so that it is not running the transactions log. Okay, so it is finally created here. Now let me save some of the data here. Broccoli, taking the random number here, and broccoli at the rate gmail.com .2 add amount, and let me add the transaction date here. Let's keep approve button here. So from this id is created all the function. When I refresh this page, then you can see that all the available record are in here. Okay, so if I want to get a pdf, so here we will define pdf transaction, and when we'll get this in the error, we have not defined a transaction list template.html file. So let me quickly define it here. On the template file, I already created two.html file. I am not going to create it again. Let me paste it here, and in the static file there is two things, so let me define it here. You don't worry about this all course. You will download these HTML files. I will provide the links in the description below, so you can just go there and check it out. Okay, let me refresh it again. Again showing the error. Okay, so on the views function, and here transaction list.html file. So I think I have made some spelling mistake here. So here is I read s. Let me remove this, and after that there is a transaction list template. Now let me and again checking it. So you can see that there is only one record available, and the pdf is formed here. Okay, so again if I want to access the transaction by its id, then again we can do it. Okay, so here I am just copying this id, and I want to only generate the pdf of this singular id. So when I put the id name here, enter, then it is throwing the error. So we also need to define the path here. Right here pdf and enter. So it is showing that txn is not defined. Okay, so okay, we have not passed the txn id in this argument. Let's define it here, txn id, the comma here. Just remove the quotation from there. Now let's save it. and refresh our page. So you can see that our text and ID will be created successfully here. Okay. So in this way, you can create the transaction ID with the help of the Django Rest Framework. Okay. Now I will connect this Django Rest Framework with our React.js framework. Now we are going to connect the Django Rest Framework with our React. So for connecting both applications, first we need to install the course header in our system. So let's install the course header in our virtual env. Here we will write the command to install Django course headers. Okay, and it will take some second. So here you can see that it already installed in our environment. So after that, we need to define the cross origin in our settings file. So let's define it quickly. Okay, and this is our post, local post of our react.js application. After that, we also need to define in our install apps and middleware. So in this middleware, we need to define the course header. And after that, we also need to define in our install app. So let me put first here comma. After that, right here course headers. Let's save it. So we have done with our Django Rest frameworks. Now we also need to define in our React applications. So let's do it fast. So here I already defined the front end sections. So I have a code of React application. So I'm just copying all the codes and paste it here. And I will also provide the link of this all codes in the description below, so that you can just click on there and practice in your own system. Let's again open this application in our VS Code. So let's do it. I'll write here code dot, and you can see here our front end sections is open in our VS Code. Now let me zoom it again. And after that, we also need to install the npm. Let's do it here and write npm install. After that, here node modulus of directory will be created. Finally, it installed in our system. Now for running it, we need to write the command npm run dev, and the port will be open in a localhost 5173. Here you can see that this is our front-end application. Now we also need to connect these all things and need to fetch the data from our backend. For doing that, so on this file app.tsx, you can see that I have taken the URLs of our transaction here, and these are the endpoints in which we are sending our data of these all attributes: name, email, phone, amount, transaction date, and status. And if the data will send successfully, then it will print this message: payment is successfully received. Okay, and in a similar way, there is also all payment sections in which we are actually retrieving all the data stored in our database, and through it we are also getting the PDF. The payment is approved by the admin. So here I have defined the PDF sections in which if the admin is approved the transaction, then it will get the PDF here. And if the user want to see all the necessary payments, then they can directly fetch all the data from these codes. Okay, I know that this video is so long, and if you want to learn more about these React applications, please go through with the URL that I have provided in the description below. On that video, you can understand all these stuffs very clearly. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and please, if you have not subscribed our YouTube channel, please subscribe it, like the video, and share with your friends who are interested to learn the Django from the scratch. Thanks for watching the video. Keep coding and keep learning.